2 murders, 1 house, and a third name history won't let you say. Bridget Sullivan.
Bridget became a witness for the prosecution.
Tonight, author Stephanie Blakemore lays out why the Maid's access, timing, and vantage point could flip this case on its head.
I think it's a crime in itself, to be honest.
While the poison rumor and that jump rope rhyme keep us looking the wrong way.
Why would someone turn that into a nursery rhyme?
John had the experience.
If Lizzie couldn't even get out of the corset alone, who actually had the freedom to move?
Committed 2 murders.
Let's talk Bridget. Rich, 2 weeks in a row. Lizzie, your subject. We're here?
Well, here we are, and it is a rainy Saturday.
Yeah, it's gross outside.
And with us today, all the way over the pond,
Yep.
is author Stephanie Blakemore. And welcome, Stephanie.
Welcome. Thanks for
Hello.
joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Stephanie wrote 2 books on Lizzie.
Yes.
We have her books here.
Yes. This is the second one.
By far, like, the best artwork I've ever
Yes,
seen.
we love that. And I love both books, and I'll tell you why as we have this interview. And here's the first one. Both really intriguing books.
Yeah. So what do you think about the way that they're written? Because they're kind of written like a bit of poetry.
Well,
We've
that's
talked about this, yeah.
exactly what when I saw you the other night. We were at school on was it Thursday? Yes, Thursday. Parent teachers. Wow. And we were talking about how I felt that Stephanie's books were poetic in nature, and this is the first time that I've got that feeling from a book. And Lord knows there's a lot of books out there about Lizzie, but this is the first one that I felt like she was telling Lizzie's story, and it was like Lizzie was telling the story to me.
Right. Right. So, Stephanie, how did you discover the Lizzie Borden case, Lizzie as a person? How did you even get introduced into the case being so far away?
It was, funny enough, it was through my great-grandma.
Really?
Yeah.
How did she?
Well, she was born in 1915, and when she was a little girl, she actually heard the nursery rhyme in the school playground, as you know, they're always there. And I'd actually told her that I'd actually heard it in the playground, and because she was born earlier in the 1900s, I just said to her, I said, Grandma, I said, what in the world is this nursery rhyme? I said, because it just sounds really unusual. And she said to me, she went, Steph, it's about a Victorian lady in the 1890s who was accused of murdering her parents. And I just looked at her and I was like, why would someone turn that into a nursery rhyme? I mean, you know, kids are going to be saying this in a playground. And I remember asking her, you know, I said to her, I said, well, you know, who was it made by? And she said it was never found out, but it was after the trials. And I just find it so disturbing that someone can actually turn a real life event like that into something so grim.
Rich, being like the historian that you are, do you have any intro or information on who actually came up with this rhyme, where it originated from? Well, that's something we've never talked about. We've done so many episodes.
It was a jump rope rhyme.
Right.
And when kids of that area, the Victorian era, were jumping rope, you don't see anybody jumping rope.
Not unless it's forced by gym class.
That's exactly right. But that was a popular diversion when you were young in that era. And so there were other songs and rhymes that went along with jumping rope. And this one caught on because of the publicity, the circus that was created by this case. And it was a circus. And basically that was created by the media, at that time newspapers, who sent people from all over the world, all over the United States. There were reporters that were in Fall River for the trial in June of 1893, and that is about the time that rhyme came out, and it often was in poster form, where they would print it out on a piece of paper and tack it on a telephone pole all over Fall River. And Lizzie particularly noticed it when she got back from the Chicago World's Fair, the Columbian Exposition.
She was handing out with our friend H.H. Holmes.
No.
Yeah.
And it was shown to her, and because she was disgusted by it, and the rhyme is totally wrong. They got the number of counts wrong. It was not her mother. It was her stepmother. There was not 40 whacks. It wasn't 41. And it wasn't an axe. It couldn't have been an axe because an axe is on a long handle, but it fit the rhyme. Right. And there are students that I have in class now who know that rhyme.
I'm sure.
They don't know what the rationale and reasoning behind it, but they know the rhyme.
So, like, when we're talking about Lizzie, there's always like two different teams in this boxing match. In like one corner, you have Team John, and then the other corner, you have Team Lizzie. So, Rich, I know where you stand. You're Team John. Stephanie, where do you stand? What corner are you in?
Oh, totally Team John.
Why is that?
He's just got guilty planted all over his face.
He sure does.
So how do you feel he, I guess, fits that narrative? What evidence is backing up that claim?
Well, for a start, he was a butcher by trade, so he understood how to use that hatchet, and so he would, because of his work, he'd know the actual anatomy that obviously he'd actually have to hit. And he would have known the amount of blows it actually takes to kill someone. And then he basically just went overkill to make it look like vengeance or some anger that, that he thought that, people would actually have. But the one thing that actually strikes me in it is the way some people have said that if Lizzie hadn't actually done it, then it may have been Lizzie and John. But then if that actually happened, then that would be Lizzie actually giving her actual consent that she would actually get blamed for it, which makes no sense.
How do you feel about that, Rich?
Well, I agree with Stephanie that John had the experience. Probably at least 30 years of experience of being a butcher.
Right.
He was out in Iowa. He and Andrew were in business, shipping cattle and horses from Iowa back to the Fall River area. They had this arrangement that was a kind of a side gig that Andrew Borden had. Andrew Borden had his fingers in a lot of different pies, and that was one of them. And the fact that he did have the experience, and the fact that while he was back here in Massachusetts for 2 years, he was working in a butcher shop.
Right.
And at that time, a butcher was not the type that you would see when you went into a market today. A butcher at that time rendered the entire animal. So if you needed a butcher to whatever the animal was, whether it be fowl or cow or something like that, he would render the whole animal. So he knew what he was doing. He knew the anatomy of an animal. He knew how to dispatch an animal. And I think that's just what he did on the morning of August 4th.
So, Stephanie, something that's often come up in our conversations and a lot in the trial, we talked a lot about it with Cara Robertson, author of Trial of Lizzie Borden, is the Prussic Acid and the claim that Lizzie attempted to purchase Prussic Acid. From my research, I haven't seen any strong evidence stating that it absolutely was her. And she never came out and accepted the fact that it was her who tried to purchase it. Do you agree with that? Or like, do you feel it was her that went to try to purchase the prussic acid? And how does that tie into the case at all?
Oh no, it's Lizzie never actually never she never purchased that actual puric acid because when they say that she went in, she did go in, but the thing is she wasn't allowed to get it because back in that day you actually had to have a prescription. So there was no way that she could have purchased it anyway. It was basically just another excuse to make her the villain.
So you think it was actually her that went into the store to try to
I
purchase it?
think, well, I mean, she did go in, she did ask about it, but it wasn't given to her. I mean, she actually asked for it to clean her cape,
Mm,
but that doesn't automatically point to her being a murderer.
right. Okay. Um, Rich, what do you think?
Well, my take on Eli Bentz, that was the guy who worked in the pharmacy. He, when initially asked, he didn't know who the person was that came in and asked to purchase prussic acid. However, as the inquiry and then the preliminary hearing and then the grand jury and then the trial progressed, he became more and more familiar with Lizzie
Right.
to the point where he claimed that he had known her for 10 years, that she had come into his shop where he previously worked and she knew him from there. However, to prove that Eli Bentz's testimony was flawed, he wasn't even allowed to testify that she came in the store at the trial. He said this during the initial inquiry and during the preliminary hearing. However, by the time it got to trial, he was brought to the stand. He gave his name, he gave his occupation, and the defense objected, and he was not allowed to go any further. They were not allowed. Prosecution was not allowed to ask him questions, and his testimony about her coming into the pharmacy was not allowed in the trial. The jury never heard that.
Right. And Lizzie didn't testify on her behalf at the trial either.
Not at the trial.
Not at the trial. How do you feel like that? Does that make her look guilty, or was it just a smart move on the lawyer's case?
Yeah, she had the best attorneys that money could buy at the time. A dream team of excellent attorneys. One being the former governor of Massachusetts by the name of Robinson, and he knew his way around a courtroom. And he appointed two of the three judges that were on the panel that were overseeing her trial. So he was smart. It was said that he was paid $25,000 to handle the case. That was a lot of money.
That's a lot of money back then.
Yes.
Because Mr. Borden, he died with, what was it, $67 in his pocket?
$67.50.
$67.50, and that equated to almost $3,000, right?
Right.
I'm really rough on this.
And some chewing tobacco.
And some chewing tobacco. Okay, cool. So Stephanie, you in your books and in the conversation that we had a few days ago, which got totally Lizzie I only expected that conversation in the last 10 minutes, but we sat and we talked about Lizzie for an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half, which was pretty fun. Which is pretty fun. I always love talking about the case. But we talked a lot about your theory, and your theory is that Bridget may have had something to do with this. What's your actual theory on the case? Like, what do you think happened?
Well, my actual theory has changed loads. At first, I actually believed that it was Emma and John who played a part. But yeah, then it seemed more in a way. I mean, I can't say obvious because obviously it's never been proven, but in my opinion, I think Bridget had more, kind of like more, well, how can I say it?
a
It
reason?
seems more that it would come across as her because she did have more of a motive to do it. And she didn't really like the Bordens at all, not from the way they actually treated her. So, and plus she was on the lookout, so she easily had access to where Lizzie was and direct contact to where John would have been.
Right. So you think it was something that they just kind of planned together, and it was like just it
I
was like a
I
signal
think
given or something?
Yeah, I think John actually paid her off. I think it's just odd because straight afterwards, you go back to her life after the trial, she ends up in this massive house. So, and it just doesn't seem right. I mean, of course, people are then going to turn around and say, well, why didn't Lizzie do that?
Hmm.
It could have been Lizzie that did it, but I just don't think it was.
Rich, what do you think?
Well, there's always been a rumor around Fall River, and talking with people who have been interested in this case even before me. There's a group of people who think that there was a relationship between John Morse and Bridget Sullivan,
Mm.
or Maggie, as the Borden sisters called her. I don't know if that's true. It was said that there was a guest bedroom on the third floor, and that's where Bridget's room was located. Is on the third floor, the attic portion of the house at 92 Second Street. And but on the night that or the evening that John came to the house on the 3rd of August, he was instructed by Mrs. Borden that he would be staying on the second floor, which is where Emma and Lizzie's bedroom is also located. There was a guest room, which was also used as a sewing room, and that's where he slept the night of the 3rd.
Mm.
And I don't know if that was by design, if Mrs. Borden thought that there was something going on between he and Bridget, and she directed him to use that bedroom rather than the one on the 3rd floor, which he had used previously.
Now that we spoke, I think it was really only in the first episode about there was an argument or a dispute amongst Andrew, Abby, and John the night prior to the murder. So what would that be? August 5th, right? Because they
Third.
occurred. Oh, August 4th, 3rd,
Third.
right? Because the murders happened on the
Right.
4th. Do you think that the dispute was over the sleeping arrangements?
No, I think the dispute was over business arrangements.
Really?
I think Andrew Borden was getting sick of the hassle of having these horses and the cattle shipped by rail. There was an incident where there was a foal that was born and somebody bought it. And when the guy came to pick it up, the foal either had got stepped on and was lame. And the guy demanded his money back. And there had been deaths of animals coming because they come by train. And it was a long process for over 2 weeks to bring an animal from Iowa to Fall River, and they had lost some animals due to heat and things like that. And I think that Andrew Borden was getting sick of that, and he wanted to end it, and John didn't. And they had a discussion about it, which was described by Lizzie as a disagreement.
Sure. So that you think is the cause for the actual deaths?
No, I
Basically.
think that's the cause for the tension that was going on between Mr. Moss and Mr. Borden and Mrs. Borden.
So last week we kind of talked a little bit about the Borden sisters being spoiled, right? Stephanie, what do you think about? Do you think the sisters were like spoiled, or do you feel that they were entitled? How do you think that they were? Their demeanor was like what was Lizzie's like day-to-day demeanor?
Um, I, to be honest, I don't think they were spoiled at all. Not at all. People automatically assume that no, sorry, that Lizzie had all of the resentment towards Abby, which is actually not true at all. Emma was the one that resented Abby a hell of a lot more. And I also think that Emma had an issue with Lizzie as well, because obviously with Lizzie being the youngest, you know, maybe she was a bit of a girl, a bit of a daddy's girl, but no one will be able to know, we don't know what Lizzie's life was like outside of the trial. We just can't know.
So, what inspired you to write these two books? And are you looking at writing a third book on the case?
No, I won't go past two books. I wasn't even going to write two. I was only leaning towards one. Um, but what got my attention and to write the second one is because with the first one it was more about like about more explaining who they were. The second book went on more to explain like what their role was in the actual trials and stuff. um but no, I actually wanted to write it more like I was Lizzie, kind of like explaining her story. That's why it sounded more poetry like, because I didn't want people to just constantly concentrate on the trial. I wanted people to realize that, Lizzie was human just like everybody else. She had a hard time. I mean, it can't have been easy for her growing up like that. I mean, she lost her mum at 2 years old. Abby was pretty much the only mum she'd ever known. So, and apparently she did actually call Abby mother for most of her life. It
Wow.
was only until that horrible, the actual fact that Andrew had actually bought that house for Abby's family. And you see, I understand why Emma and Lizzie had that issue with them. I mean, they were his daughters, and suddenly their father is buying a a property for someone that's not them. I mean, personally, I'd have the resentment as well, but just because she had that frustration, that doesn't automatically result to her wanting to kill her parents.
Yeah. So, Rich, you kind of took a similar approach with your book. So, you kind of got more into like the historical type of fact based writing, and then Bev wrote the my story section, the viewpoint through Lizzie.
Yeah, she was the voice of Lizzie throughout the book, and her writing and mine were separated by segments that had Lizzie's initials after it, and my and I don't know if Stephanie knows. I had a co-author who I have never met. We've talked by phone. She lives in Canada, and we found each other on a writers workshop blog, and we started writing a book about injustice, and there was several, probably 15 or 16 crimes that we investigated, a few of them in Canada, which Beverly was working on, and then cases in the U.S. that I was working on, starting with the first one, which was in Plymouth Colony, which is not too far from here, and that was in 1630, and we went all the way up to almost the present. And the Lizzie Borden case was just one of the ones that we selected. And basically, the reason I selected that was that the case is still a cold case.
Yeah.
It has never been solved. And as Stephanie said in her book, the trial ended, but the story did not end for Lizzie.
Right.
In fact, that was almost the beginning of her story, was when the trial ended, because although she was found not guilty, in the court of public opinion, everybody not everyone, many made the assumption, well, it had to be her. It couldn't have been anybody else. And the proud person that she was, she would not leave Fall River. And she just stayed there. And much to the chagrin of those people who continued to sing that poem and saddled her with the mantle of somebody who was suspected of killing her stepmother and father.
Sure. There's a question that I've never asked either of you that I can't wait to hear the answer to. And that is, if you could sit down and talk to Lizzie, what would be like the first or like the main question that you'd ask her if did you do it was off the table? Like, you couldn't ask her if she did it or not. Like, and I'll start with Steph.
The first thing I'd actually ask her is, what was it like to be her during the trial?
Yeah.
Because we all talk about the trial, but we don't talk about Lizzie as a person, the fact that she went through all that. You know, the way that she was looked at, you know, even though, you know, there's no possible chance of her actually being the one that actually did it. I mean, it's like I was saying to Seth, it's, if you actually look at the way women were treated back then, I mean, women were expected to, you know, faint on cue. I mean, if Lizzie was, you know, if because it just literally logically doesn't make sense that Lizzie would have done it. I mean, people refuse to look at the actual practicality of it all, and I mean, we're talking about brutal attacks. I mean, not one but two. And if Lizzie had done that, you know, it would have been a lot. And knowing what women were like back in that day, and for example, the things that they wore, I mean, not to mention the fact that they had to wear like 6 or 7 layers of clothes. So that's why the whole idea of people saying that she did it naked, it just doesn't sit right. Because, you know, the fact of everything she had to wear, there is absolutely no way that she would have gotten out of those clothes, committed 2 murders, got back in that actual amount of time. It's literally logically doesn't make sense.
That's
And
something that I never thought about.
I think people actually forget that all the corsets and everything, they actually had whalebone in them. There is no way on her own that Lizzie was able to get out of that and get back in it. The only way it could have been done was if Bridget helped her. And I mean, if people are saying that Lizzie was the one that killed them, then basically Lizzie would have to turn around to Bridget and say, look, I can't get out of my corset and my clothes. Can you help me? I've got to go and kill my parents, and then you need to help me get changed. It's just silly.
Rich, what do you think?
Well, if I had the opportunity to talk to her, I guess my question would be, I would like to have her perspective of what the heck happened, because she was a witness to all of this, either directly or indirectly. I would like to know what she thought happened and who she thought was responsible. And I'm wondering if she came to the same conclusion that Stephanie and I did, that there was someone who had both the opportunity and the experience to be able to carry out those 2 crimes and have a alibi that doesn't hold water. And the only reason that Uncle John was not pursued by the Fall River Police Department was soon after they talked with him, he became a witness for the prosecution. And as soon as he became a witness of the prosecution, and as soon as Bridget became a witness for the prosecution, they weren't asked any tough questions.
Right.
You know, the police did not ask them any questions. They said, well, as a witness for the prosecution, we'll be having you come to court and testify. So they didn't have to come up with any plausible reason of where they were and what happened, because that was never asked.
Stephanie, what do you think about John's alibi, the ironclad, rock solid alibi? What do you think about it? Like, because like to me, it's too perfect. If you asked me where I was yesterday at 6:15, I'd be like, well, I think I was at Veterans Memorial Stadium in the press box, but I can't say for sure. But he was like down to the minute. I was here. I ate these pears at this time. I did that. I saw this trolley driver. What do you think about his alibi? And is it ironclad?
It was all rehearsed. Like you said, it was just perfect. There is no way anyone could have actually remembered the amount of stuff that he actually remembered. Not to mention the fact that the trip where he went to go and visit his relatives, the actual time of the destination was about an hour, and for some reason it took him about 25 to 30 minutes to get back, even though he was actually using the exact same distance. So it does actually just work out like he was rehearsing it.
And he used the
And
same means of travel to get back. So how? So
yeah,
there's a missing half
yeah.
hour.
Yeah, well, apparently, it did actually take him around an hour to get there, because he was by the horse-drawn carriage, and he took the exact same route, and it took him less than the time it actually took him to get there. It really just doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. And what doesn't make sense is he said he was at his relative's house, and the relative stated to a reporter from the Fall River Herald that Dr. Bowen, yes, that Dr. Bowen, the one that is central in this whole case.
Yeah.
Dr. Bowen was at that same residence because there was a niece there who was ill. And when asked by the reporter, did Mr. Morse and Dr. Bowen, did they see each other? She said, no, I think one was leaving as the other arrived. And yet Dr. Bowen was back at the residence of the Bordens at 92 2nd Street at approximately 11:25. And they both couldn't have been, they may have been at Wybosset Street at the same time, but it wasn't when Uncle John said it was. It was much earlier than that.
Interesting.
Because Dr. Bowen had to travel back to his residence, which was across the street from the Borden house, and he immediately was summoned to go over to the Borden house, and it was approximately 11:20 to 11:25.
So, Steph, you have some like super strong passion about what the fate of 92 2nd Street should be. How do you feel about the building actually being open as a business at this point?
I think it's a crime in itself, to be honest. I mean, having the actual house still open to the public is, in a way, an insult to Lizzie and her family. I mean, basically, people are going in there and profiting off her trauma, and in my opinion, it's absolutely sick. And I mean, there's even a gift shop, and they're selling little cups with axes on them. I mean, it's really disrespectful. I mean, I know that she's been dead for over 130 years, but that's still a person's life.
Right.
And I think it's so disrespectful. And to be honest, it should have been burnt down. And I mean, the whole idea of the fact that they keep it open for paranormal nights is just absolutely ridiculous.
Are you a believer in the paranormal?
No, not at all.
What about you, Rich? I've never asked you do you believe in ghosts?
Well, I told you the ghost story
Yes.
that I had concerning the house at 92 2nd Street.
Right.
At one time, 92 2nd Street was just a house on a street with an attached printing shop. And the printing shop actually operated out of the house and out of this addition that was put on the side. And that the first time I saw the Borden house, that's how it appeared, with a print shop attached to the right side. But somewhere back around 1990, somebody got the bright idea that we could turn this into a tourist attraction. And that's what they did. Now, the barn that is there, which is the gift shop, is not the original. The original barn was torn down back in the 1920s, and yes, they looked through the remnants of that for the hatchet.
They did.
When they tore the original barn down. And then they put this one up, which they say looks similar to the original from photographs. And they made it into a gift shop. And I'll have to admit, I did profit from that because they sold my book there for years. However, when this property was sold a few years ago for $2 million, by the way, and turned it into a paranormal situation, the people who purchased the house, the corporation that purchased the house, said, well, we don't want to sell books anymore. And it wasn't just my book. There were other authors that had their books that they sold there. And to me, the whole situation there has developed around this paranormal situation now as a tourist attraction. And that property is not the only one that this corporation owns. They own other places of interest across the United States that have paranormal, quote unquote, paranormal activity.
Maybe they own Tina Barr.
No.
No, I'm kidding. Tina Barr, Stephanie, is a D.B. Cooper reference. I'm not sure if you looked into the case at all, but it's a don't worry about it. It's all good.
No, I'm all Lizzie Borden. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I like the fact that they're preserving the house as a piece of Fall River history, and I don't have $2 million to purchase it, so I can't. What I say doesn't really matter. But I like the fact that they're preserving it. I don't like the fact that they're pushing the Lizzie Borden title. Something that you and I talked about on the phone the other day was that they should call it the Borden House or something like that. They're calling it the Lizzie Borden House. They're targeting Lizzie to make a profit. And I'm not entirely sure that I agree with that. And I feel like Lizzie was guilty by media and guilty by capitalism in a whole. Just, it was a good way to make money. It was a way to sell papers. It was a way to generate income and money, and she fell victim to it. And unfortunately, her strong will to never leave the city really forced her. It forced her to be in the house that shut her in. Basically, the title of your book, which Rich loves, by the way.
Yes, it is. And you know what? That title that you picked, The House That Shut Her In, interestingly enough, that title goes for both of her homes, 92 2nd Street, and also Maplecroft, which is up on French Road, which I understand is now open for tour.
No.
It is the house that shut her in. Both of those homes shut her in, and the fact that Emma bailed, and we'll never know why Emma bailed out of Maplecroft. A lot of people kind of said, well, she really finally came to the conclusion that Lizzie killed the parents, and therefore that's why she moved out. I don't think that's the reason at all. I think there were some other reasons. She did not like the fact that Lizzie was associated with people from the theater, and Lizzie was interested in that, and the fact that she was friendly with Nance O'Neill and other actors. I think that went against Emma's what Emma thought was proper, and of course you got to figure. Emma was pushing 50 years old at that time when she moved out. So I would also like to ask Lizzie, why do you think Emma left Maplecroft in 1905?
So, Stephanie, did you mention? You said you seem to like have like a little like a no on the house isn't open. What do you know so far?
Well, I actually heard that it was open for paranormal nights, but apparently it's actually closed. That it's actually now privately owned and someone actually just lives there.
Maplecroft.
Yeah,
Interesting.
because I know it definitely used to be open for paranormal nights and everything, but it wasn't long ago that I actually found out that they've actually closed it off and it's not open anymore.
Wow. Maybe this podcast can get a special.
Well, we'll have to investigate that because it's not that far away.
It's not. I've never been to the Lizzie house. Stephanie, have you ever been to the Lizzie house?
No,
Would you ever
I,
go?
no, I wouldn't step one foot in that house because, I feel I've actually got the respect for the lady that basically had her life taken from her, and how I wouldn't feel happy if I found out that someone was profiting off my pain. I mean, this is a real person's life.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just I don't know. I would like to see it presented in a different manner, you know.
Well, I don't think you're going to see that because
No, it
they've
will
gone
never
down
happen.
that road, and it's turned into a cash cow for somebody now, and
Yeah.
it's a corporation that owns it. It's not like it's individually owned or it's owned by any of the Bordens or any relative. It's not. It's owned by a large corporation who's trying to turn it into a profit-making situation, and I agree with Stephanie. There is any reverence towards Lizzie and towards the Bordens, Mr. and Mrs. Borden. Any reverence that they deserve has just been wiped out because of commercialism.
Stephanie, what do you think about the hatchet that was found on the roof during the trials? Like at the next door house. Did you hear about that?
No, I didn't hear about that.
So apparently there was I talked to Kara about it because I sort of learned it through her book. I also learned that Lizzie was enjoying sugar cookies, which I forgot to buy. Whenever we do Lizzie things, I like to do with sugar cookies on the table. It kind of like makes it more fun, I guess, if you will. But so apparently, according to Kara, she had, or someone had discovered mid-trial or like towards the end of the trial that there was a hatchet of some sort that was found on a roof in a neighbor's house, or maybe it was the house. Rich, do you remember?
Yeah, it was several houses down the street. There's some construction going on, and it was a flat roof. And sometime a little bit after the trial, someone found what you call a shingle hatchet, which has a hammerhead on one end and a bladed end on the other, with a little notch for pulling nails. And they found this. Now, it could have been anything. Hatchets were being found all over Fall River, and of course, every single one of them was the weapon that was used in the crime. I think it was somebody's tool that they just happened to leave behind. Let's suppose it was the murder weapon. How the heck did it get up onto the top of a 2-story flat roof?
Yeah, we've never actually asked that question. I didn't know that it was a I just learned that now. I didn't know that it was a 2-story
flat roof, and it just sort of didn't make sense. The interesting thing that came up is on the 31st of May of 1893. This is as they're getting ready to select a jury. There's another hatchet murder in Fall River. young 22-year-old girl by the name of Bertha Manchester was brutally executed with the use of a hatchet type. And this is before jury selection, and this is why they sequestered the jury, because here you got another hatchet murder, and you haven't even solved the first one. And it couldn't have been Lizzie, because Lizzie was being held at the Hodges Avenue jail in Taunton. So it wasn't her. And the jury, as they were being selected, must have heard about this, because it was in all the papers, another hatchet murder. And that's why the jury was sequestered. So you wonder what that put into the mind of the jury that was selected, all men, no women. And it goes to show, as Stephanie demonstrated in her book, that women were, at that time, second-class citizens. They weren't allowed to be on a jury. Remember, they weren't allowed to vote. And that's just the way it was in the States in that era during the Victorian time.
Now, Stephanie, you're sort of fascinated by the Victorian era. How did you realize that was like the best era? How did you come to that conclusion?
Well, that's a funny story, actually. Um, when I actually first really liked the Victorian era, I was about 7 years old, and it actually started off going to a theme park near where I live that actually had a Victorian village in it. So you could actually walk through they actually built a proper place, and you could walk through it, and you could see all the different shops and what they wore. I remember always asking why we weren't wearing those types of clothes today. And my mother just basically just ignored it and just said, Steph, you don't want to go there. Um, but yeah, I think even though obviously those times were absolutely horrendous, when you think about it, some of it was pretty beautiful. I mean, the way they dressed was lovely, but then you kind of change your mind when you figure out, how they were made and the actual purpose of them. But yeah, that time really just hit something in me, that it just, apart from everything else, it just seemed like a really nice time.
Was the Victorian era different in the UK than in the United States? Was it like the style? Was it different at all, or
No, it was pretty much the same.
really? Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. What inspired you to write these two books, and what are some of your other books that you've written or are working on, or any other cases that you're looking into?
Well, what got me to actually write the books is the actual case has always been a fascination for me. Ever since I was little, I've always loved solving mysteries and everything like that. But I think because in a way I actually felt myself like I actually wanted to step inside Lizzie's world and actually let people know that Lizzie was human and there was more to her than this crime and the villain that they made her out to be. And I wanted to have people so they could actually see past the actual thing that occurred and just look at her like we look at everybody else, just a normal, like they're a normal, like just like a normal happy family.
I wanted to tell Stephanie personally, in reading both of these books, that first of all, congratulations on the publication of both your books, and also I wanted to say, and perhaps I mentioned it a bit before, but what you've done for Lizzie, to me, is explain things in a totally different different way than a lot of other authors, including myself. My book is totally different from yours. Yours has more feeling. I felt that in a lot of what you were writing, it was actually you were speaking for Lizzie rather than
Yeah.
speaking for yourself. It was what Lizzie would have felt and what Lizzie would have said. And it's both of the books are really they're really different. This is a different take, and I recommend all of our people who watch our podcasts that this is really something different, and both of these books are really something special. And that we're gonna put on our podcast link where these are available.
Yep, they'll be all down in the description and in the pinned comment. There are two different links. There's the UK Amazon link, but then there's also the United States link. For this video, we'll put it in the United States link. So go ahead, purchase them on Amazon. And they were pretty cheap too. They weren't priced high.
No, they're
like,
attractively priced, and they're great size. As I get older, the font size means a lot to me, and both of these are in great readable font, and they're a good size book, and in fact, people know what my book looks like, and they're comparable in size. So they're a great book to have on the coffee table, and Stephanie's to be congratulated because I love both of them.
Yeah, they were very good.
I finished Lizzie Borden, The House That Shut Her In. I finished that this month. I told you I wasn't going to read that until this week because I wanted to be fresh. And I just finished it this morning, and it was I was totally enthralled with the whole way it was written and what was said.
Yeah. What mindset should someone have when they're reading these two books? And which one should they read first and which one should they read second?
Well, personally, I think they should start with the first one because that one actually introduces Lizzie a bit more. The second one is more, that one is more deeper into the actual trial. But the whole idea, I didn't want people just to focus on the trial, which a lot of books actually do. They just say, "Oh, Lizzie was she was a murderer. This is such and such," and everything else. They don't look beyond that. They don't actually look at the people themselves.
Yeah. What do you think the biggest
And I
misconception in
wanted
this case?
people to. Sorry?
I'm sorry. What do you think the biggest misconception in this case is?
Ooh,
Do you think it's
I
just like
don't.
kind of like lack of education and people just jump around with the nursery rhyme and just popular opinion or something?
I think it's lack of concentration as well. People
Yeah.
just don't want to. They're better off. What they think is they're better off wanting to hear the myth. They don't look at the fact that there are other people involved, and because Lizzie has been, known as the villain for over 130 years. She's the word. Her name is the one that sells.
Yeah. What about you, Rich? What's the biggest
Well,
misconception?
I think the biggest misconception about this whole thing, that this whole story started on August 4th, 1892. And nobody ever takes a look. I'll rephrase that. Not nobody, but many people do not examine the fact that Lizzie had a normal life, for 32 years
Yeah.
before August 4th, 1892. She was well-traveled. She was heavily involved in the community. She was involved with her church. She taught Sunday school. She taught immigrants. She was involved with women's societies that were involved with Fall River Hospital. This was just a normal person who had a normal life up until that day. And after that day, that's what everybody looks at. What happened the day of the murders and what happened after that. And nobody goes to say, well, what was it all about beforehand? And there's been a few books written that tell about her community and what things were doing before the murders. But for the most part, most people just look at what happened after.
Yeah. She kind of like took after her father a little bit in some ways. Like he was on the board of trustee for several banks, right? And he had
Yes.
his hands in a lot of different businesses and whatnot. And he was busy. And I feel like she kind of took a role model to him.
Well,
And
her
she
middle
was-
name was Andrew.
Yeah. Named after Andrew Jackson. or Andrew, her father, and then her father was named after Andrew Jackson, which is kind of funny. But like, you know, and then she gets involved in church. She starts working with the animal shelters. She's a bit of a teacher to Sunday school, right?
Well, Sunday school, and she also taught for the church. She taught immigrant children. She was teaching them English.
So she had all her hands in, you know, all these different pies. As
Yeah,
you
she
said
was
it.
she's involved in the community.
And then her father's doing the same thing. So to me, it shows like, you know, she looked at her father as a role model. She grew up on a get involved type of lifestyle, and you know, and then she gave her class ring to her father, which I guess shows that, you know, she adores her father and cares.
Well,
about him.
I always said if there was an oddball, an odd character in that whole family, it was Emma. And Emma had reason to be maybe angry at Mrs. Borden, because when Mrs. Borden, the new Mrs. Borden, Abby, entered the family, Emma was a young adolescent, and she took that situation differently than Lizzie would.
Like a bit more
Lizzie
personal.
was a child.
Yeah, she was like what, 3?
Well, she was about nine and a half years younger than Emma, and so she was almost about 5 years old when Mr. Borden remarried.
Okay. How do you feel about Emma being like a bit of not, I guess problem child's a bit of a bad phrase, but someone who would have been a bit more upset with the situation?
Well, in a way, I can understand, really. I mean, Emma herself was extremely young, and she basically didn't have the childhood she deserved. She was pretty much stuck in the role of looking after Lizzie because her dad was so busy. So it must have been difficult for Emma as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing people actually do forget, because of course they're too focused on Lizzie. They don't actually see the older girl that basically did sacrifice her own childhood to look after her sister.
I made a Facebook post, and I mentioned the word scapegoat on my Facebook post, and you had made a comment about it. Was Lizzie the true scapegoat?
Yeah.
You think so? Like,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. But I think that's gonna probably start to wrap
Yes.
this episode up a little bit.
Yeah,
you know?
well, I want to thank Stephanie for spending this time with us on
Yeah.
Saturday, and this has been fun. And again, I want to recommend Stephanie's book, both of them, and I think you'll enjoy them because it's a different take.
Yeah. So what do we got next?
Next coming up is going to be next week.
We're still working on Night Stalker.
We're
with
still
Eli.
working on Night Stalker. We have approximately 15 cases that people have sent us information on. We're doing one on Joe Aridi soon,
Yep.
which is kind of a tragic case, and we're going to be probably doing that before Thanksgiving, which is the last Thursday of the month this year. And there's some other things that are going on. We've got some interesting things from those people out there, and we do have a winner on the contest that we had of guess the age difference between Seth and Rich.
It is a positive number.
It is a positive number because
makeup's good,
but not that good. I am the older. I'll admit it. And somebody got it right on the nose, and several people got it right on the nose. And we picked out of a hat the one who is the winner. And if you want me to give that name,
yeah, go for it. Yeah, I'll throw it down right here.
It's and we'll have to contact that person to see
Yep.
who it is. The name was like Menino, Mminno.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the
So,
tag.
Menino, you have won, and what you have won is one of Rich's books. If you don't have Cold Case to Case Closed already, Rich will scribe it out to you.
Right. And if you'd rather have the football book that I wrote beyond that, will give you that copy.
Yeah. And then I'll also include one of the show challenge coins. If we can go to my camera, you might be able to see it. Not entirely sure with the light glare. Can't tell. But yeah, so it's a double-sided challenge coin. Challenge coins are really fun. I like to collect them.
Yeah.
They're a cool little token to have. And Stephanie, I will be mailing you out a challenge coin.
Oh, thank you.
The guest of honor for today's show.
Yes, and we want to thank you, Stephanie, for taking time out of your busy day.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
One last question I had for her. Do you have anything else planned in the future, in the near future?
Well, at the moment, Rich, to be honest, no. At the moment, I'm focusing on my music as well.
So what's you were telling me a bit about your music. Tell me a little bit about it on camera.
Oh, okay. Well, it's actually a virtual band that I created myself that has now actually got three songs so far on Spotify. Yes, I do the actual entire lyrics myself, which takes absolutely ages. I have to choose the actual singing voice I want as well, tune all the instruments, and make it sound like something that's decent. And it's taking a while. It really is taking a while.
And it's a kind of like a gothic rock band, right?
Yeah.
Pretty cool. I am a metalhead, I will say. But though when I'm in my house, Caroline can attest to, I do play jazz pretty much all day. I have jazz going in the dining room speaker, and it's kind of nice. I like walking. She's laughing right now because she knows it's true. I listen. Sometimes I fall asleep on the couch and jazz music will be playing, and Caroline's like, goes and pauses it. Like, I'm not leaving this on all night. That and the grandfather clock keep waking me up. But and I got some pretty interesting news too. So my friend Erica gave me this a couple of days ago over dinner. It is the D.B. Cooper sand jar.
Where did that sand come from?
Tina Bar. So if you can't see it, I'll upload a picture. But it has a portrait of D.B. Cooper with his name or his nickname, I guess at this point. And it has the coordinates of Tina Bar on the jar. And if you are not familiar with the D.B. Cooper case, I highly suggest that you check it out. It's my favorite case. I love it. I actually flew all the way to Washington across the United States, literally the furthest point I could go besides Hawaii or Alaska.
And you brought back some of their sand.
And I brought back some of their sand from Tina Bar, from the money find spot. Real quick, if you don't know the case, a man in 1971 hijacked an airplane, demanded $200,000 and 4 parachutes, dropped the rear stairs to the aircraft, and disappeared in the night. It was a rainy, cold night in the middle of... it was Thanksgiving Eve, actually, so It's coming up. Maybe I'll release the video on Thanksgiving Eve.
10,000 feet.
From 10,000 feet. He jumped, and 9 years later, a big old, not bag, but a section of money, $6,000 in United States $20 bills, was discovered on the side of a beach called, I say beach lightly. It's kind of like a little sand patch on the side of the Columbian River. And $6,000 was discovered by a 9-year-old kid. and that was 15 miles away from where the FBI thought he jumped, and nothing has ever been found. No parachutes, no money was ever spent, no banks ever found it, nothing, zero. And they know that because they recorded the bill serial numbers.
I said they did.
They said they did. Yeah,
That's
we're not entirely
my theory.
sure. It could be. So I grabbed some sand from the money find spot, and I have it right here. And if you guys like the show, Rich donated a Tina Barr special, the Lizzie Borden book. I know the cases don't really have anything to do with each other, but it's the Tina Barr special. We're going to roll with it. It is what it is. So if you'd like, you can purchase the sand and the copy of the Lizzie book and a challenge coin. It'll all be on an eBay link, and that will go live in a few weeks or so once the video's out.
Thanksgiving.
Right around Thanksgiving. So that video will go live, and there will be like a little bit of auction. If it goes for $5, it goes for $5. It is what it is. But be sure to be on the lookout for that video. I cannot wait. I'll do a watch party. We'll watch it, check it out, because it's a lot of fun. It'll be about 45 minutes to an hour, just about kind of the length of these podcasts. So I'm super excited for those. What's going on, guys? Editing Seth here. We made a little bit of an error. The DB Cooper Tina Barr investigation is going to go live next Sunday, not on the Sunday of Thanksgiving. We changed our mind. Rich had a prior commitment, so in order to keep an episode out and keep episodes coming, we're going to release that episode next week. I'm also going to be going live today. So if today is Sunday and you're watching it, Sunday the 9th, if you're watching it on November 9th, right now in the premiere, I will be going live tonight on a coffee hour. So be sure to hang out with me, join the chat, and talk with us. It'll be a lot of fun. I don't really have any super prepared material to go over, but we're just going to have some fun and talk with the chat. The link for the sand, if you guys want to auction or participate in the auction, maybe it goes for $5, maybe $10. I don't know what it's going to cost, but you are going to get a free book. One of Rich's books, the Cold Case Closed. You'll get the sand, and you will get a challenge coin. Actually, I'll show you. I'll show you the challenge coin. Right here, right on my challenge coin collection. Boom! Check that out. Yeah, look at that. Guest of honor. So you guys will get the challenge coin, which will be a lot of fun. And anybody who watches my live streams would know I talk about my French Victorian mirror. That's it. You guys got that. Cool. Sweet. So thanks, and let's get back to this video.
Well, again, thank you to Stephanie for spending this time with us.
Thanks for taking the time out of your schedule and being here with us.
My busy day.
And good luck with your music.
Yes, good luck with your music. I listened to it. There will be links down below in the description. Make sure you follow the Instagram account, the Spotify account, and check out her books. They're
They are really interesting.
They are good.
They are different, and they are interesting. And if you're a Lizzie fan,
they're a good collection piece to have.
Exactly.
And to read them.
Yes.
And they're not terribly long.
And I will actually put in a very embarrassing thing. I'm going to say it, but when I was writing the second one, I got so emotional. It was utterly ridiculous.
I could feel that. When I read it, I could feel that. I could feel the emotion that went into it. And as a fellow author, your heart and soul literally goes into what you're writing, and that's what makes it so interesting.
Yeah. So
and again, thank you.
Yes, I think that's going to wrap it up for today's episode. I want to thank everybody for watching today's episode. It was a blast.
Yes, we'll be waiting for your comments, and we'll be waiting for your suggestions for more cases.
The correct age difference?
56 years.
56 years, yes. So
Seth
I'm
is
20.
56 years older than I. No, I'm sorry.
I'm 26, Rich.
Yes. You're 26.
And you are, you just turned.
I'm just older than 26.
Yes, okay. I won't display it, but yeah.
No, you
do
can
the math.
say it.
Okay. Rich just turned 83. Happy birthday last Sunday.
Thank
we had
you
some
so
people in the
much.
chat.
Thank you.
And I also want to thank Faye Dalton for writing me a nice letter and sending me a book to read. So I'll be doing a coffee hour on that book pretty soon.
Well, thank you very much. And thank you, everybody, for tuning in.
Yes. Alrighty, guys. I'll see you guys next week.